He wasn't he was in a band.
It just makes a little more sense.
I've edited this out. This is stuff we have to put on the Patreon. Me fucking dying. All right. Anyway, sorry, people.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
So, very exciting. Season 2 is here.
It's upon us after a few technical upgrades.
Yeah, a few misfires. We actually did a demo version of the show. It's the first time I've ever done that. It wasn't because I wanted to, but we did. So, I guess this is as good a time to let you know this is any, but we may get a live phone call on the show.
Why? Oh, you? We're gonna get a call?
Yeah, I might actually get a call. So years ago, I ran a music website.
I'm aware.
Yeah, and we used to. I had guys that would write reviews for me.
Right.
I would send them out physical copies of the CDs because it's going back a ways, and they would submit reviews to me, and I'd put them up on the website. I did a lot of the reviewing. They did some. This one guy named Stu, really weird guy. I tried it with him, and he ended up sending the CDs back, which began a very odd relationship. Yes. Stu likes to review non-musical things. He would like to review like the attitude of his Uber driver.
Now, apparently he doesn't grasp the concept of the music review.
No, or he would want to review like how Burger King treated him that day or something like that. He's bit of an acquired taste, Stu. He's in a band actually. He's in a band called Stu Manchu and the Overalls.
What is that? That's like as bad as like the Amish Outlaws or something.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me.
And it gets better. They only do covers of Captain and Tennille songs. So ridiculous. But yeah, so we may get a call from this gentleman. Yeah. Hey, they do a pretty good version of Shop Around. I mean, I have to admit.
God, no.
Not that I spent a lot of time watching Stu Manchu and the Overalls.
Yeah. No. Not that, if you want a really crappy, cover version band, by all means, go to Leo.
Oh no.
They are the weirdest. They try to make like non-metal songs into metal songs, but I have this rule about liking a cover. It has to be a little reinvented and different. Like I hated you don't
like it too straight. You like it to be changed up a little bit.
Like when what's her name? She recorded that Toto song. And Africa.
Yeah.
What is there?
And it was. She didn't do anything different with it at all.
No, it was completely the same song. In fact, it was such the same song when they played it on the radio. I'm like, why are they playing Toto again all the time?
Yeah, the Leo band.
Yeah.
I actually, there's not much music that I'll actually get up and turn off, but I did because they did a cover of YMCA. And I felt I was getting flashbacks to my first wedding reception. I mean, it
was literally the same song, and they tried to have growlier vocals.
Yeah, that band sucks.
They've also done These Boots Are Made for Walking.
Ugh.
And Running Down a Dream. That's my favorite. If I had a favorite Leo, that would be it.
Favorite and Leo should not be in the same sentence.
They do some really weird covers.
So avoid Leo. I can't really speak to Stu Manchu and the Overalls.
All right. So how about we actually talk about good music for a bit?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Let's do that.
We thought it would be a good idea to kick off season 2, featuring a band that you hear each week on the podcast, even though you may be unaware, despite my lovely outtakes at the end. This is Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Their song is Tonight We Ride, and it is the theme song for our Deaf Ears feature. And since I can't ever seem to pronounce a name as simple as Tim Green correctly, I figured, okay, let's get him on the show.
Now, we've had more fun with you saying Tim Green's name wrong than probably anybody else.
It's like a mental defect at this point.
His name is not Jim. It's Tim. And we covered this in the interview, so you have that to look forward to. They're an amazing band. I mean,
The fucking
The
champs.
the
Yeah.
drummer for the fucking champs is absolutely sick. He shifts time signatures like he's changing channels on the remote control. And they're almost entirely instrumental band, and
Yeah, you won't
there's a
even.
guitar density. There's so many guitar harmonies in it. And when we talked to Tim, remember he told us about that one
yeah.
song has 23
Yeah.
tracks of guitar in it. So they were a little bit guitar obsessed when they made their records. Yeah.
Such great riffs, and just listen for those shifting time signatures
Yeah.
and the harmonies, and the
There's a Thin Lizzy vibe too. Yeah.
there's just so many plentiful things there. They're so talented, and I think he's been in many projects that you like, including the Drunk Horse. We'll talk about all the things later,
Yeah.
but
I went through kind of a Drunk Horse fanboy stage. Didn't we all? Didn't we all go through that? Anyway.
and, he's a master engineer now, even though,
Oh yeah.
as you'll hear in the interview,
He's produced like over 500 records or something like that.
he's
Or
has
is it just technical?
credits on
credits.
over 500 records, although I think 300 and some are in the technical aspect. So he's a busy guy.
One thing that's interesting is that these guys, you know how I get when listeners and other people that are in music are like bitch about production. I don't like the production.
Producer.
Death Magnetic it might be heavy, but I hate the production. Oh, I can't listen to that snare drum. You know, the thing is, guys like Jack Endino, who I've interviewed, and Tim Green of the fucking Champs, who actually know enough that they could bitch, never do. I mean, Tim Green, I'll tell you, some of his favorite stuff is the early Kinks records. And that stuff's all analog. Anyway, just very interesting. It's always what do they say? Only little dogs bite. Yeah. Anyway, so let's play some fucking Champs. Get this thing going. Season 2 is here, people. Let's hear Tonight We Ride, the full version. We haven't really talked about this, but I apparently I have an orange apron that only some people can see.
What, like a cloak of invisibility? Are you Harry Potter
I
now?
wish it was invincible. I wish it was invisibility. Yes, that would be much better.
It's your cloak of invisibility.
My cloak of Home Depot dumb questions that get asked of me. Yes.
Wow.
I go into Home Depot and I'm like this, like manic, like I want this, I want this, I want this. But somehow people say, hey, he looks friendly. I'll ask him about whatever I'm building. I think I cursed myself a little bit with this because one time I was in the electrical aisle, and I mean, I don't want to get technical about it, but I basically overheard one of their dumbass employees telling someone advice that was going to cause an electrical fire. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I helped the guy out. And ever since then, it's like I can't get in and out of there. I guess they think I look like a contractor or something. Last week, the Indian people.
Oh, yeah.
I was in Home Depot last week. Just trying to dash in and dash out. This Indian couple comes up to me and said, we need to replace the wax ring on our toilet.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, I don't work here. And tried to walk away, but they just stood there.
Oh, God.
And I was just like, you know what? I need to get this done. So I said, you're going to want to go with the Fluid Master Wax. Let's head over to aisle 12. There's a couple accessories you're probably going to need. Got them all hooked up. Of course, they never thanked me. Home Depot never thanks me. I don't even get a discount.
Here's the part that John Q. Public gets wrong. They assume that because you work at a profession or an establishment that you are certifiably an expert on everything there.
Right.
So it's hard. I mean,
I did expect the fucking waiter to know the menu the other day.
It's going to be everybody's first day. It could be your first day. You don't know. It could be your second week. You might not know everything yet. But
we don't agree with this because see, I feel like management that works in a lot of these businesses has just given up on training people.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we were trained before they put us in front of customers. Now it just seems like they just throw you to the dogs and they figure you'll figure it out. And it can make for some very poor interactions.
Well, it's just that, people find out I work for a doctor and they will start to ask me medical questions or show me a rash,
That's lovely.
It's so weird. I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV. I just like to put that out there. I just work for one. Are you answering that?
Yes, I'm feeling saucy today.
God.
So let's go. Hello, it's Mark.
Hello, could you direct me to your review department?
Stu, please don't call me sir. We don't have departments here.
Did you get the pictures I sent for review?
Yeah, you sent some pictures of letters.
That's affirmative, Mr. Moore. Could you put the first one up on the screen, please?
It's up now. Yeah, I see it.
Please don't call me mister.
Well, Willikers, this is a review of the vowels. I don't think anybody's really given them serious thought, you know.
The vowels? A-E-I-O-U you're talking about.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves there, Mr. Moore. I'll start with Y. I'd give this one points for the hieroglyphic look, but without the YMCA song, it would be nothing.
Hey, that makes me want to put my pride on the shelf.
They have everything there for you to enjoy.
All right, let's not encourage him.
If I could interrupt, Mr. Moore.
Please don't call me mister.
Moving on to the O. What in the ham sandwich is this? Just a circle? Not very original. It's actually O isn't overrated, if you ask me.
We really didn't ask you, Stu.
And don't even get me started on Osei Can You See.
What's happening right now? Are we on SpongeBob?
Moving on to the I, Mr. Mark. I was as in impressed with this one. I mean, it can stand alone, sort of the main draw here. The design is ingenious, but the whole I before E except after C thing is quite confusing.
If you think about it, we really couldn't achieve perfection without it. Do you see what I did there?
Showing off your grammar skills.
Judas Priest, you lost me on that one.
If only we were listening to Priest instead of Stu Manchu.
Which brings us to A. Now, this little guy can stand alone, not quite as triumphantly as the I. But don't you think it's a little smug coming in first in the alphabet and also being the first letter in the word alphabet?
You got me on that one, Stu. If it's one thing I can't stand, it's pompous letters.
Roger that, Mr. Moore. If you consider the lowercase version, we're really just looking at an O with a little curlicue on top, and there's no power in curves.
How many more of these do we have to go? For God's sake, even Sesame Street is usually brought to you by a couple letters and maybe numbers.
Well, gosh, oh golly, I'm nearing the grand finale. If we consider the letter U, I'm impressed with the design, and I like the way it tries to be the new I in text messages. You coming over later? Adorable.
Well, it's true you can't say fuck without that.
Heavens to Betsy, Mr. Moore.
Please don't call me that.
Which brings me to the real winner, the letter E. Pure excellence.
Well, you could say it's here, it's there, it's everywhere you want to be.
Oh, well, this was fun. I'm working on the consonants for a follow-up, just so you know.
I can't wait, Stu.
Thanks very much to both of you.
Bye, Stu.
Bye. Please don't call back.
I'm going to quote Tommy Boy. Did you eat a lot of paint chips as a kid? Maybe live under power lines?
Yeah, this kid is going places. I mean, not college, but places.
Speedily move on from whatever the hell that was with some more genius from Tim Green.
Right. So you're familiar with our sponsor, Hum Nutrition. They had a great offer. So I tried another new product, and I think they make these offers because they know once you try them,
You're hooked.
you're hooked. I like very, very many of the Hum products that I have learned that I cannot live without. The new one I tried was Skinny Bird. Now, it's not one of these magic pills that when you take it, you can continue to eat peanut butter and donuts and, the weight's going to fall off. But
Consult your doctor in Mexico for those.
But the ingredients in this are doctor formulated, and they make sense. This is actually Skinny Bird. First, you have your 5-HTP. This actually is responsible for controlling the serotonin levels in your brain. So
I dated serotonin. Let's not go there.
all the stress eating goes bye-bye out the window. So that takes care of that. You have green tea extract that helps you burn fat faster. Who wouldn't want the benefit of that? Then you have a Caralumita fimbrata, which actually works directly with the appetite control center in your brain. It'll tell you that you're full, you've had enough.
I love when she wears glasses, like the sexy librarian. Sorry.
And also, the last ingredient is chromium. This actually helps you regulate your blood sugar so you don't have those spikes and crashes. There's nothing in here that's going to make you jittery. There's no caffeine. There's no ADHD medication, ADD, whatever. But it's actual ingredients that, while again, they aren't a magic pill. If you're on a good nutrition and fitness,
Exercise
this is
regime,
going to
yeah.
push you over the edge
Yep.
and get you to where you want to be. Red carpet's another one of my favorite products. It helps with like linoleic acid, and it helps your hair and your skin. I have very fine hair, and my hair has never been thicker since I started using this product.
Fine hair. Sorry.
Not like that fine. Wingman, this is great. It has your milk thistle extract to detoxify your liver. If you're ever hungover, one of these is better than ibuprofen. Flatter Me, this gives you a flat stomach. Basically, from what I've figured, by getting rid of everything in your system to its probiotic needs. Don't go too far from the facilities right after taking this one.
I'm not going to come right out and say that it'll make you shit your brains out, but well, there it is.
Yes. Skinny Bird doesn't work that way. Collagen Pop is another one of my favorites. You take these little tabs, you dissolve them in water, and I usually use half a tab. That's why there's not quite big one. But it actually has helped. It has marine collagen with my hamstring problems, with a lot of aches and pains. So, and it also helps, keep me youthful and fine lines, less apparent. So get over to Hum Nutrition. Their link is in our bio, and it will save you $20 off your first order of $39 or more.
Okay. Oh, you hear that sound? That means it's time for our Collect Your Bation feature. So I figured I would kick off our first little foray into vinyl porn. How am I going to upstage that? Now, back in the day, when I was in high school, it might even been before that, there was a show that was on the radio Friday nights. It was called Metal Shop. And Charlie Kendall was the host. They played a lot of like hard rock and heavy metal. So I discovered bands like Accept and Wasp and Armored Saint and that sort of thing. Well, anyway, they had this feature on the show where they would ask like Scott Ian from Anthrax or Chris from Sabotage to name their top 5 desert island metal songs of all time.
Wow.
And it always seemed like it would be one of the 3. It was always either the song Black Sabbath,
Gotcha,
Son of a Bitch by Accept, or Action by Sweet, which is a little introduction now to what awaits. Sweet's Give Us a Wink, containing the aforementioned song. Let's have a look what we have.
Oh my.
People, we have a winking album cover. It actually winks at you. Yes, be jealous.
It's kind of like stop action photography.
So we have the front, we have the full back. Stace is a big fan of their haircuts.
They all have bangs, and it's all kind of blown forward.
They're legendary, despite the haircuts. Let's take a look inside, see what we have here. Look at many eyeballs available. Years before Tool tried it. Yes. The back showing everything that will happen as a result of too much winking.
And it says winking will make you go blind and kind of like graffiti paint.
Interesting. And then, of course, now the ultimate. Look at that.
Shiny.
Original
Shiny.
Capitol vinyl. It can't be played ever. It can't be played. Okay. So there's that. And of course, also because I didn't want to have any pressure, we also have it on CD.
Yeah.
So there you go, dear people. Our first little bit of collectorbation. Let's hear the song that everybody seemed to like back in 1983. Action. Okay, so collectorbation continues. With this little vinyl beauty, Todd Rundgren's A Wizard, a True Star. Now,
quite psychedelic.
This is a record that introduced me to the concept of drug envy because it's so bonkers. I could not imagine the drugs they're doing. Like I would listen to it even now, and I just am like, imagine the drugs. Probably some great shit I never even heard of, Anyway, but let's get a look at this. All right, so if you look at it, you'll see. Let me make sure I get the right angle here. Yeah, with the gatefold. Okay, so if you look at it, see how it's beveled. It's embossed. It's cut. It's die cut different than it's not just a square record. It's kind of bizarre. The spine is a little wonky when you put it, in between your other records, but very cool design. And let's have a look. Are you ready to see
the screw just having a square record? I mean, let's be different.
Yeah, it's the drugs. Are you ready to see the gatefold? I don't know if you are.
You're such a tease.
Look at this. Look at that lovely green.
Wow.
Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. And then let's take a look
at the front and back are like mirror images. It's not too different.
What do you do with a mirror? Interesting. And then we have this.
Wow.
I see an eyeball. I see
Is that
I see a
lyrics?
dragonfly. Yes, the lyrics are
Oh,
very well written.
and scrawled in red in someone's
Yes.
handwriting.
And then, of course, we have the original vinyl.
Oh, 3 holes.
3 holes, yes.
2 are fake.
Records are like 3 holes. Everybody's got an opinion. So. Anyway, so there it is, Collecturbation. Let's play the Onion People song, whatever the hell it is.
Just another onion head.
Just another Onion. Thank you. Back this up, I might as well tell you that, of course, also on CD.
He's got a couple albums that he has on multiple.
I have the first Aerosmith album on vinyl, CD, and 8-track. Here's a picture
Just
of
in
it.
case.
I have two vinyl copies of Number of the Beast. I don't know why. I think I probably stole one. I think I talked about this in one of the interviews. Back in the day, you were judged when you came into a party by the cool record that was under your arm. You know, if you went to go to a beer party or whatever, you always put the coolest one on the outside, right? And then when you leave, you grab the stack. It was very easy to accidentally, on purpose, grab another one
Mm.
because they weren't exactly Chuck E. Cheese checking us out the door. So anyway, so yes, I have 2 and 3 copies of some vinyl just from theft. So at any rate, that's the end of the Onion Head, I believe. Now it's time to talk about our Patreon page. So we just launched our Patreon page.
Just
It's
in
very
time
easy.
to get all new equipment.
Very simple. Patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcasts. This woman needs your help. Let's talk about your job, Stace.
Well, like aforementioned, I work for a doctor, and basically I deal with crazy people all day.
It's not a psychiatrist's office. It's an ophthalmologist, but they should give out straitjackets at this place.
And if you look it up, you can Google it yourself. There is a hardwire connection between dry eye sufferers and anxiety and depression. We get the craziest people because we specialize in treating dry eye, and they tell me all kinds of stuff. They've got trash in their eye, they got mucus in their eye, they have foreign bodies in their eye, and 9 times out of 10, no, they do. I would say 98% out of 100, it's dry eye. But anyway, I deal with the craziness of their extra neediness, doctor running.
Can you write me a note that says that I never have to work again? Can you staple that to my bill? Can you staple my bill to my pocket? Can you drive me out to the car? Can you take me home? Can you get me another copy?
I have literally had to walk people to their cars because they're lost, or walk people in because they're lost. So
it is a fucking loony bin. We are cool. Send us money.
And
anyway,
upshot to you, you'll get a better show as we improve.
We're gonna
our
improve.
equipment.
We're gonna improve it anyway, but we need some. There's no romance without finance. So while we're talking about it, please check out and continue to follow us on Instagram. Both shows, we have the Snaggletooth RNR and also Snaggletooth Decay. Both have their own Instagram pages and Facebook page as well.
Yes.
And you can continue to friend request Stacy, but if you actually want your fucking music played, you should probably friend the podcast page.
I get
the show, not Stace.
I get
the show,
like,
not Stace.
Literally like 5 and 6 a day, sending me, please listen to our music, and I'm just going to forward it on to Mark anyway. But also, as an added bonus, on those Instagram sites, you get to read Mark's wonderful reviews that he does on
just about daily.
Yeah. Just about daily on stuff old and new. So you'll find a lot going on there. And definitely check him out. He's an excellent writer.
I'll tell you what, my favorite bands, and you're gonna have to explain how this works to me. The bands that have all social media set up.
Mm-hmm.
They've got logo, they've got a professionally done logo, they've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everything set up, right?
Right.
Their own website. And they don't have any fucking music.
And they've already approached me.
Thank you so much for the support. There's no music.
But it's coming soon.
I've seen 2 of them. Like, I finally, after drilling in 4 or 5 different websites trying to find it, they said, due to some unforeseen delays, the 2 songs that we're just about to release are going to be ready in August. And I'm like, wouldn't the music come first?
Yeah, we only get behind stuff that we actually like.
Yeah.
So how can we actually like you if we've never even heard you?
Yeah. True story. Okay, so let's move on to the interview with Tim Green. I think you're all going to enjoy it. It's a little dark back here, so I'm warning you up front. The quality's, the video quality's not as good, but the man is amazing. Oh, and also let me just mention, I get a little starstruck when he mentions Joe Preston from the Melvins, but I totally blank on the fact he casually mentions hanging out with John Rice, Rocket from the Crypt, Drive Like Jehu, Hot Snakes, all bands that I feverishly followed. So too bad I whiffed on that, Tim.
As well as your drunk horse geek out. And the
Drunk
fact that he
horse,
has
Tim.
stuff coming down the pike, but he couldn't tell us or he'd have to kill us. So
It's okay though. We do cover the subject of alcohol, dear readers. So don't fret none.
I'm not smelling too good, but that's okay because you can't smell me.
I'm in the same boat.
So wonderful to meet the man that I literally say your name every week.
She usually says it wrong too. Yeah.
My name personally or the band name?
Yeah, just your name, because we always say what's it, the
fucking champs.
The Deaf Ears theme, courtesy of Tim Green. And for some reason, Stace is obsessed with calling you Jim Green. I don't know why.
Yeah, every week I mess up something and he takes all the bloopers and puts them on the front of the show. So yeah.
Yeah.
I
like the old Burt Reynolds movies,
I drink and I mispronounce things. I don't know. Yeah, so we were talking, about you guys had the best name change story I've ever heard, because most of the time, we were talking, remember, to Black Rose, where it was a big problem. They couldn't come over here from the UK because there was another band, it
was a lawsuit, right?
But I love it. You guys had another band named the Champs and you just went with the fucking Champs. So how did that come about?
Yeah. Well, we were kicking around a lot of other names. We actually, probably around 97 or 98, we had one particular discussion where all right, we're just going to change it to the Summer Nights, spelled with a K. And it was just that's it. That's done. And then the next day it was as if we had never had the conversation. And we just kind of went back to, continued using the Champs. And I think it was, it was before our first tour, our first US tour in 97. I was in charge of making shirts, and just as a joke, I put the fucking Champs on the shirt. A lot of our friends in Portland used to call us the fucking Champs just because they're excited. Mm. So it was just kind of a joke about that. And then that just kind of became the name.
I have a deep admiration for an artist that puts the word fuck in their name, because there's no commercial success at that point. You're pretty much going to stay underground, So
we got a lot of hate mail. There's actually a section on our website that has a collection of hate mail.
Oh, we saw that. Yeah. We actually do a thing when we get hate mail too. We make a big deal about it and read it on the show too. So we're linked in that philosophy, I would think.
He banned the guy from the show. So
yeah.
Yeah, I told him he's officially not allowed to ever listen to the show again. So.
We don't actually know how to do that, but anyway. Yeah, you guys got all kinds of Karens going, I hate the name, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, don't look at it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you saw that I wrote back to all of them.
It was really good too. Thank you for saving us. Oh my God.
So before I forget, I wanted to ask you, I forgot about this until Stace mentioned it this morning. I am a huge Drunk Horse fan. I have all their shit.
They're really good.
And can you, what happened for In Tongues where they borrowed from you guys? What was that story?
It's kind of a collaboration.
Because you're only on the one, some of the members from Fucking Champs are on their last album, right? And I think that's the only one.
No. Well, Josh from the Champs joined Drunk Horse a little while after he quit playing with us.
Okay.
But I think he just played on a 7-inch because our friend Joel played on the last album. And actually, Eli was just here last night working on something else until about 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, he's great. It was really nice to see him. We've been working on a record since June, off and on.
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to say what the band is.
No, that's okay.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, it seemed like that the last album In Tongues was a little more rock oriented, as opposed to the kind of drunk Mahavishnu vibe of the earlier material.
Yeah, yeah. Except for Skydog, that's a great song.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I like
I wasn't.
Priest. I think Priestmaker is my favorite fucking champs
Yeah,
or fucking champ slash drunk horse song. Yeah, yeah,
it's a good one.
yeah.
Actually, on our last, we used to tour with them a lot. U.S. tours with Drunk Horse, and I think it was the last tour we did with them. They covered the song "Summer Nights"
Oh,
as a
that's
Oh,
cool.
song
wow.
for us, which was fucking great.
Why did they stop?
I'm not really sure. I feel like I asked Eli about it last time I was here, but we stayed up till like 4 a.m. drinking, and I don't remember what he said.
It was a long answer.
But they've gotten back together here and there sporadically. Like they played a handful of shows over the last like 5 years. I was actually going to ask them to play my 50th birthday a few years ago, but that's like when COVID hit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I reviewed all their YouTube live videos, and I was like, so this is like their live at Leeds. This is like their Decade of Aggression. Yeah, I'm a little too into that band, so to speak.
Yeah,
It's kind of a sickness. Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that there's other super fans out there, because I've always been a super fan. Even before they were called Drunk Horse, they used to be called the Pants, like in the mid '90s, and it was all the same guys except for Matt, the old bass player. Cyrus, became the bass player after him. But they used to be called the Pants, and they were equally great. And I think I was going to record them. I don't remember what happened or if they ended up recording, but they didn't record with me.
That one
But,
live show, they do that fucking Goblin song. Oh my god.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
so,
fucking awesome. Yeah. We're gonna go with Italian synth horror, Okay. Yeah. So, and all right, so here's a question for you. Getting back to fucking champs. The first two cassette demo albums, or first two albums, very distinct shift in style after those two when you go to the third album. Was there a reason for that, or was that because there's actually vocals on the first couple, I believe? I mean,
yeah. Well, maybe it's just because I joined the band after the two cassettes,
yeah, yeah.
and I don't know. I think like right before I joined the band, Josh had gotten a Marshall half stack, but Adam, the old guitar player, was still playing through a Fender Twin, so it wasn't quite as big sounding. When I joined, I came up with the idea of doing the amphitheater system, which is where there's 4 cabinets total, one on my side, one on his side, and then he has one on his side, one on my side. So no matter where you're standing, you can hear both guitars equally. And it also makes, we don't need the sound checks, we don't need monitors or anything. So that was a change in the sound in general, and both playing through Marshalls. And then I guess, the recording sound changed because they were mostly doing 4-track stuff.
Yeah.
Before I joined the band, and I had an 8-track, or I had use of an 8-track. And so we did most of that first record on 8-track.
There's so much guitar, and especially and I remember like when I was really obsessed with you guys, it was just I used to listen to your music and I would think this makes like April Wine with 3 guitars seem like it's not enough guitar. It's almost like you guys were trying to layer in as many guitars as you could. Very guitar obsessed music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one track on I guess 4 that has 23 guitars. And this is all analog, so there's no digital, like adding a million guitars,
Did you have like 20 layers and then you're like, you know what, it's just missing something. How about 3 more? And then that about does it. Yeah.
We had to leave one track for the click track because there was no drums in that song. So
Gotcha.
otherwise we would have done 24.
That's great. Yeah.
I think you must win the award of having the most projects you were involved in with the neatest names, like, Red Eye and Vile Cherubs and Nation of Ulysses. I'm like, they're all great.
Oh, you guys really did your homework.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite project, something that was really dear to you?
Probably the Champs was my favorite of all the bands I've played with, just musically, but also just like personally, like me and Tim and Josh just got along so well, and we have like the exact same sense of humor, and we just make each other laugh all the time. Like it was just so fun to be around those guys.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of the like the one album cover where you guys are in the desert. It looked like that was really fun to shoot.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. That's Imperial Dunes, like south. It's almost in Mexico, like very southern California, like kind of near between El Centro and Yuma, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, did you have like a most memorable gig with them, like that was really crazy or really erratic or really good?
Oh man, I don't know. I can't really think of like one that stands out above all others. We almost always had really good shows in New York and Austin, Portland, a lot of good shows in LA. We used to play at Brownies in New York a lot. We play like 2 or 3 nights in a row, which was great because we could just leave our stuff there overnight, not worry about loading out.
Did you take things to the other side of the pond at all?
Yeah, yeah, we played. We did a couple European tours. We did one in 2001 and then another one in 2005, which were both kind of bummers. Like, they just didn't get it.
Oh, really? That's
Really?
interesting.
Yeah, and we played Iceland 3 times, and we went to Japan and Australia and New Zealand.
The land of ELP did not get the fucking champs. I find that
No,
curious.
we played some town in the Netherlands somewhere, and after the show, some guy came up to us and he was like, "Have you heard of this band called Dream Theater?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of them, but I've never heard them." It's like, "You should listen to them." Like that seemed to be their point of reference. I mean, I'm not just basing it on the one dude, but
Yeah,
that's a sentiment that we encountered a lot over there. It was like they didn't really know what to make of it, so they compared us to Dream Theater, which I've never heard. But
If it makes you feel any better, we've had multiple bands tell us that you can really tell in the Netherlands that everybody's smoking pot when you play because they're not really responding,
yeah,
the way that other countries do. Yeah. So
yeah, we did have some good shows in the UK and Ireland, but outside of that, Europe was always kind of a bust.
that's interesting. Well, I would have thought the total opposite.
Yeah, me too.
And it was the same with Nation of Ulysses when we toured there. Pretty shitty shows, not playing. Well, I mean, we toured with Victim's Family for part of it. They were pretty popular over there, so we got some decent crowds, through them. But mostly it was just playing squats and semi-legal places. A lot of places we just got shut down immediately. Like in another place in Holland, we played like half a song and the sound man just turned off all the power and like snatched the mic out of the singer's hand and kicked us out.
Wow. You were that offensive. Wow.
Yeah, and a similar thing happened actually to the Champs in Austria and Vienna. We were playing this old this compound that was like an old slaughterhouse where they have pretty big shows, and we were sound checking. We rarely sound check because we feel like it's better to just take the sound person by surprise rather than start off with a like antagonistic relationship with them. But for some reason we sound checked, and this is when Phil was playing guitar, and both Phil and I were about the same level, but for some reason the sound person just singled him out, and she was just like, you have to turn down, and he would turn down. He kept turning down. I don't think she realized that my cabinet was on his side as well, so she thought all the sound was coming just from him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And she was like, "I will not continue until this man turns down his amplifier."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, we had a laugh. This one band we interviewed, Lords of Trident, they actually, were doing their own streaming shows, and he came up with a way of like presetting everything, and they called it the dead or drunk sound guy mix. So if there wasn't one, they had like a preset that was pretty good for
like
everything.
in-ear monitors and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's smart. That's
Yeah.
smart.
I should have asked him though. He said dead sound guy if they die.
We
He said
that
it twice.
That did happen where the sound guy was actually
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
So
I was like, that's a
Whoa.
problem.
these things happen apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty extreme example.
So you're more into like being a mastering engineer now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still recording bands, but I've been doing more mastering in the last 12 years because I moved out to the country, kind of middle of nowhere. So it's easier to do mastering because people, can just send me stuff through the mail or internet.
Did they find you or do you find them or?
They find me. And then, you know, a lot of bands I record, I end up mastering. You know, I just makes sense.
So you're not producing as much, you're mastering.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still recording bands and producing, engineering, but
Oh, so
you
you
know,
are producing, okay.
yeah,
So
I'm doing more mastering.
what are some of your what are some records that from a production standpoint you listen to and just say, wow?
Records that I've done or
No,
just
no, records that you know, like where you just are like, if only I could get that sound, or how did they get that sound? You know, like you just production, I guess top produced albums in your opinion.
I'm a huge fan of Shel Talmy, you know, from the 60s, who did like all the early Kinks and Who and The Creation, all that stuff. I love that sound, like real bombastic, explosive.
Everything analog, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been into that sound, and I feel like that's sort of like what I unconsciously go for, whether I'm thinking of it or not. You know, that's sort of my touchstone is his sound.
It's cool.
Yeah, there's other stuff too. I can't think at the moment of examples, but Roy Thomas Baker, I really like his style.
Oh yeah.
That first Cars album, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course all the Queen stuff that he did, and
Yeah. All right, really good question about Roy Thomas Baker I wanted to ask you. So, what did you think of Chinese Democracy? Did you listen to it?
I've never heard it. No.
I'll tell you. I've never heard an album that I disliked more with such breathtaking production. I mean,
Really?
from a production standpoint, I've never heard anything like it, but I don't like it.
and he produced it?
Oh yeah, well, apparently it was like produced by like 20 different people, like parts, but he kind of did the majority of it and kind of did the final mix and stuff.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah,
Now I'm curious.
it's a breathtaking train wreck of a record. It really is. You know, it's one of those things that I revisit it every couple of years just to appreciate the amazing production.
And to make sure you still hate it.
I want to like it. I really do. But, you know, that's what happens when you take, 20 years to make an album or whatever, you know. So.
Well, he always says if you want to definitely get him to listen to an album, you have to tell him it's the worst thing you've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah. I have.
That's pretty enticing.
When I was young, if I was like reading even like Cream or Hit Parader, and if the reviewer said this is the worst album I've ever heard, I would break my neck to go buy it because some of my favorite stuff was described that way. The Accused, I mean, just so much stuff. It's, you know. So anyway, but let's get back to you.
All right, so we have a brand new segment this season. Lucky you. It's called Getting to Know You Random Questions with Stace. So you're going to pick a number between 1 and 57, and I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You have 1 pass.
Okay. 52.
All right, we're going to start with question number 52.
Oh, I think it's one of mine.
What is your favorite rock and roll souvenir?
Probably a guitar pick from Wayne Kramer. It was the first time MC5 got back together again, like 2004 or 5. And I saw him at a, you know, kind of small venue in San Francisco. I was standing right in front, and they had just played They Call Me Animal, and Wayne Kramer like handed his pick to me.
Wow.
I you know, revered it ever since, and I've used it to write some Champ songs.
That solo and Looking at You, my God.
Yeah.
And I've watched interviews with him where he's just like, I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing in that song. And it's just like, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, number 2 question. Share a time you received the compliment you appreciated.
Man, it's been a long time since I got a compliment. You mean about music, about like a band that I'm in, or
Anything
music?
in general, it could be anything. Yeah.
Could be anything.
I mean, you know, just working with bands and having them, like, there's a band here last week, and they'd recorded 2 or 3 records before this one, but they'd never been happy with their records, and they were finally happy, and that was, a big, satisfaction for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's what you want to hear. Yeah.
Number 3 question: name a person you would love to see in your audience at a show. Could be living or dead.
Oh, okay.
Preferably not zombified.
Fuck, I don't know. Jeff Beck.
Ooh, good choice.
It'd be kind of intimidating, but that's the thing. It's like I wouldn't want to see someone that I'm like starstruck by, because then it would like freak me out.
Yeah, that question always reminds me of that football footage where Brett Favre is like in the Super Bowl and he's going around going, John Candy's in the stadium. John Candy's here. John Candy's here. Have you ever seen that?
No.
You're just like, dude, you're in the Super Bowl and you're behind and you're worried about fucking John Candy. Come on. What a weirdo. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Question number 4. Do you have neat handwriting?
No. I usually can't read my own handwriting. And it's gotten worse in the last 15 years because everybody's using computers now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this happens to everyone, and everyone's handwriting is probably getting worse, but mine's gotten really bad.
All right, question number 5, your last question. What do you think of garden gnomes?
Just in general?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like them. I've never owned one. They're cool. I don't know. I don't know if it's really a garden gnome, but this house I lived in Olympia, we had like a plastic Santa that was maybe like 3 feet tall. I don't know where it came from, but me and the drummer in my band at the time called Lice, on Christmas Day, we got a bunch of his dad's guns and went out and shot it full of holes. We had like a 12 gauge, a 30-06, a couple 22s, 38.
Wow.
Very cathartic.
Yeah. And there are these Korean guys with like semi-automatics, and they were just looking at us laughing, and they're like, "Oh, you don't like Santa Claus, huh?" We're like, "Not today."
So what's up next for you, if you can tell us? Or
what non-confidential info can you give us?
I've been working on a record with this band called the Losing Streaks from Sacramento, kind of a garage 60s kind of band who I really love. I first saw them in 2005, and then they just kind of disappeared. They stopped playing for a while, but I was for years I was asking people like, "Have you heard of this band?" And they got back together about 6 years ago, maybe. And I started working on a record with them last year, and I think we're going to finish it next weekend. We're coming up. And then I've also been working on a record with this band called Arthropod, which is most of the people from Giant Squid.
I knew that band. Yeah.
Doing a different kind of music.
They were on the N Records, which is one of my favorite labels. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remastered some stuff for them recently, like their classic albums, like I forget what they're called.
I don't remember it either.
I can see the title, but I don't know how to pronounce it. But yeah. Anyway, I remastered a couple of their records for reissue, and I don't want to like talk shit about anyone, but listening to the original mastering, I was like, how did anyone approve this master? Because it just sounded so bad.
Wow.
It sounded worse than the mixes themselves.
Well, I want to hear that now because I really like those records. So
yeah,
now I want to hear it.
Cenotes is one of them, and then the other one is the ichthyologist. I forget how to pronounce it.
Yeah. I remember that one too. Yeah. The ichthyologist. Oh, before I forget to ask you, should ZZ Top be touring without Dusty Hill?
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess.
Because they didn't make enough money.
I feel like Dusty would be okay with it, because they were just such a hard-working band, and it seemed like they genuinely loved being on tour, on stage. I've seen them a bunch over the years.
Yeah, me too.
It's hard to imagine them with anyone else, but at the same time, I feel like Dusty would be cool with it.
So I automatically assume that they're done when a seminal member like that dies. A friend of mine said, "We're going to see ZZ Top," and I'm like, "How?" how? And then I
You got a
realized
time machine?
it just doesn't compute to me, So
Do you know who they have playing bass with
no, I
them?
don't know. I don't know. Maybe they have Lindsey Buckingham because he
No,
left
no.
Fleetwood Mac. I don't know. I have no idea. So
Yeah, well, I mean, like you were talking about the Buzzcocks, like, they lost an integral person.
oh
and-
yeah, Pete Shelley died, but they still soldiered on, and they actually sound really good. Yeah, they're a 3-piece now. So
Who's singing?
it's Diggle, the guitar player. Yeah, actually got a pretty good voice. Yeah,
So, things happen sometimes.
soldier on.
Yeah,
Right?
sometimes you just got to keep going.
I've been working on this other record for about a year and a half, off and on. It's John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas. It's this record that he did with most of the Rolling Stones in the early 70s or mid 70s.
Wow.
It came out, like a version of it came out in 2000, but the mixes were awful. And the producers brought in Paul Schaefer in 1978, and he added all these string arrangements and kind of made it sound kind of commercial disco.
Yeah.
And I was working with John Phillips's eldest son, and we were just kind of making it sound more like a Stones record, like, the way it was recorded and intended. I just got rid of all the schmaltzy elements, and so we were working on that for a while, just remixing that album.
All right, I went to the Google machine. I cheated. It's Elwood Francis was the newest addition. He will be replacing the late musician. Hill instructed his bandmates, Billy Gibbons and Frank Beard, to continue their legacy with Francis before he passed. So there, he had his blessing.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Sometimes you got to go to the Google machine.
Yeah, that's good to know. I wonder who that other dude is.
That's interesting what you said, because that was like a weird phenomenon in the 80s and part of the 90s was remixed by who, and then they would fuck with the like you said, adding in a bunch of strings and stuff, and and it was the strangest thing, like nobody seemed to have quality control over that stuff a lot of times. And one of the worst was actually ZZ Top when he fucked with the drums. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I had to go back and buy the original vinyl to hear the way the songs should have sounded. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember specifically on a Champs tour, we just had a truck stop. We bought a copy of Tejas or Tres Hombres or something, and we put it in, and we were like, wait a minute, this is one of those weird remixed ones. We literally we threw it out the window while we were driving.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that man could not walk past the synthesizer and leave it alone, So,
Yeah. I gotta say though, I do really like their later records.
Yeah,
almost, I mean, not equally, but like I still appreciate them, because like underneath all the weird production, they're still great songs, and they still sound like ZZ Top, no matter what the weird production is. Especially like Mescalero was a super weird one. They got sort of like almost like a hip hop production. Everything was rolling out, but it was still a great album. And I saw them on that tour with Ted Nugent, and they're fucking great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I always wondered why he was so into drum machines, because Frank Beard is such a great drummer, until I saw that recent documentary where Frank Beard says, I spent my first $1 million on drugs. I was like, oh, okay, that explains a lot.
That makes sense.
Yeah, if you're laying on the ground, you can't really play drums that well live. So
Yeah.
What kind of music are you listening to personally right now?
I don't really have time to listen to music. I'm always either like listening to mixes or evaluating masters or checking test pressings or listening to demos that people send me, that people that want to work with me. I just really don't have time. And if I'm driving or something, I'll usually just put the thing on shuffle and, just listen to whatever comes up. But every once in a while, I just need to hear South of Heaven from start to finish.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, actually in half an hour we're interviewing Gene Hoglan. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Cool.
so
I have to change it to a slashy shirt or something.
he's only been in 10,000 bands, so
Yeah.
what questions do you ask someone like that? So
I actually met Slayer just by chance at the airport once in 1994.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
They were on like a record signing tour for Divine Intervention. And I had just taken a red eye to Boston to go up to Maine and visit my dad. And I was been up all night, and I was just kind of wandering around the airport, and I saw Kerry King, and I was like, whoa, that dude really looks like Kerry King. And I just kind of followed him, and then I went around a corner, and there all the dudes were.
Wow.
And I went up to Tom Araya and I was like, "Hey, are you dudes in Slayer?" And he was like, "Yeah." And we ended up talking for a while, and he was really nice. Hanneman was kind of a dick, and the other guy didn't really talk. But I actually had a tape on me of my band at the time, Lice, who we had recorded on a radio show in Olympia. And just as a joke, I added in all these like live crowd sounds from Decade of Aggression, the Slayer record. And I forgot that I had put that in there, and I gave Tom Araya that tape that has like the Slayer crowd sounds on it. And then he ran into two of my bandmates like the next week out in Tacoma or something. And they mentioned that I had met him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." But I don't know if you ever listened to the tape.
That's great.
He is always smiling. That
Tom
man.
Araya is the jolliest thrash metal persona there is.
He seems like a really good guy.
He's never not smiling. He's like the thrash metal Santa Claus. He really is, especially with the white beard now. He's never not happy. I mean, he for being in such a dark band, he is a happy dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I also every once in a while I need to listen to Confessor too, because that was like a Champs ritual where we'd listen to the entire Condemned album before every show for the first couple of years we were playing together. And we actually ended up, meeting those guys, most of the guys from Confessor, and played with our other band a couple times in North Carolina, Fly Machine. And they gave us a practice tape once, and we were listening to it. This was like 99 maybe. We were listening to it a few days later, and they all of a sudden they start playing a Champ song. Our minds were blown.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
We were such fans of theirs, then to hear them playing one of our songs, it was a trip.
I always felt like Confessor should have been at least as big as like Trouble or maybe COC or something, but they just never. It was one of those bands that no matter how much I loved them, or it seemed like nobody ever. They just couldn't get the right promotion.
Also, like so many people just can't get past the voice.
Yeah.
It just turns people off for some reason. I like it, but I can understand why people wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
It was actually like I think my introduction to them was hearing the instrumental version that was floating around at the time, because I forget who, maybe it was Penn Rollins from Richmond, who was in Honor Roll and Breadwinner and Butterglove, all these great bands that I used to go see when I lived in DC. And he asked them, he knew them, and he asked them for, actually maybe it wasn't Penn, maybe it was John Reese, now that I think about it. Anyway, someone asked him for a mix without the vocals, and that sort of circulated, and I got a copy from Joe Preston, and one side I think had the vocals and one side didn't, and I liked them equally well. And I drove lots of people crazy listening to it at the job I had at the time, which was like cleaning dorms at a school. I played on the boombox and drive everyone nuts.
That sounds like a really unfun job.
Yeah, it was awful. Just a lot of like gnarly chemicals and stuff.
Did you just casually mention the Melvins, Joe Preston? Is that who you're talking about?
Yep.
Oh, fucking A. So many great albums he was on. Wow.
Yeah, he's a wonderful dude. I've known him for a long time, and we've worked on a lot of stuff together. I recorded the first Throne stuff. I actually played drums on one of the songs on his first tape.
That's great. He has an epic beard too.
Oh.
Yeah.
He must have a team of people that just work on the beard. They come in.
He's got the Melvins. They did when Preston was in the band. They did a parody of like the Kiss solo records, and there's a Joe Preston with the Kiss artwork. It's really cool. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Yeah.
So, when you drink, if you drink, what is your drink of choice?
I mean, I usually drink martinis every night.
Martinis.
He's an aristocrat. Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm done with work, I'll drink a couple martinis. But I'll drink pretty much anything. Like, if bands have booze, I'll partake of whatever it is. I don't drink as much brown liquor as I used to, because it makes me angry. It makes people angry. Especially like bourbon and whiskey just makes you want to fight people.
Yeah.
I'll still drink it sometimes, but I'm more like scotch or something. I'm okay with that. But even that kind of angries up the blood. But yeah, I like vodka and tequila and pretty much anything. I don't drink as much beer in the last 10 years. Just kind of makes me feel too full or something, and it doesn't get you fucked up enough.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Oh, we've ordered martinis at the wrong bar before. You ever done that? And they're looking at
Oh,
you
yeah.
like, what is in that? I'm like, great.
Yeah. And it's like all vermouth. It's disgusting.
You got to
Actually,
know what to order. Yeah.
I've been making my martinis with the Spanish brandy instead of vermouth for the
Oh,
last 2 years because this band came out here from Spain to record, and they left a bottle of Spanish brandy for me, and I was like, "Huh, this kind of smells like vermouth." And I tried substituting it and just never went back.
That's great. Yeah.
that sounds like a lot more fun than JP. What did he say he drank from Chicago that tastes bitter for 20
Yeah,
minutes?
he said he said it's some kind of liqueur. It's worse than Jägermeister, and you drink it and you have that bitter taste, and it lasts for half an hour. And I was like, "This is a good thing." Doesn't
no,
sound like a good thing to me.
I like your idea better.
Yeah.
You feel
My-
like you
my
licked an
wife-
ashtray for 30 minutes. Yeah.
Do you have
My
any
wife-
tattoos?
Yeah, I have 2. I was just gonna say my wife has gotten into drinking absinthe in the last couple of years.
Oh,
Like she'll have a couple shots of absinthe every day around 5.
It's cool.
that's awesome. Yeah, almost every band we talk to now has their own beer. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Firebombs, Lords of the Trident.
It's like a promotional tool. Like a local brewery will put their logo on a batch. It's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, the last time, well, I guess the only time I saw Iron Maiden, they were selling their beer at the show.
Yeah.
It was at some like outdoor amphitheater in San Bernardino 4 or 5 years ago. 26,000 people. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they're on like their third lager, their fourth video game, their own plane. I mean, it's
Yeah.
how much is enough, right?
There's a liquor store by us, and you can order ahead online, and then you just pull up and they bring it out to you, which is good if you're in a hurry. So I had ordered him like some other stuff and some of the Iron Maiden beer. So I got an email, they didn't have it, but they came out and they put it in my trunk, and I drove off. Well, somehow instead of that, they gave us this god awful salt lime beer, which we tried to get through.
Yeah.
But
was horrible.
it was like, wow, I said, we'll try this instead. No, I mean, you could have like one, and it was like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes free is not worth it.
Yeah. That's the thing with like flavored beverages or flavored booze. It's like it's okay for like one, but it's not something you want to like drink a lot of.
Yeah.
Like a chocolate peanut butter porter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If I do drink, I like dark beer, like porters, stuff like that. Where do you guys live?
We're in Baltimore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at the Heavy Seas Brewery.
Yeah.
That's where my mom's from. My mom's family.
Oh, that's cool. Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've lived here all our lives. We've been we actually were high school sweethearts. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And now we're married.
Back in 87. It only took us 33 years to find our way back to each other.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. Yeah.
really cool.
Well-
Do you know the band Murder?
No, I don't think so. Murder? Mm-mm.
Baltimore band. I mastered an album, well, a couple albums for them, but one just recently, like last year.
No,
Great.
but I will check them out.
Yeah.
We're big Crack the Sky fans. They're and Rob Fahey and Rob Fahey
And the Pieces.
and the Pieces. Yeah, they're kind of the classic
If you
Baltimore
remember
bands
the
that never made it.
Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go see them next Friday.
Yeah.
Oh,
So glad to
guys-
be back out. We're trying to get to more shows and everything.
did they have a Death Fest this year?
Yes,
Yeah,
we went.
we went. It was great. Yeah, it was. They packed in because they had all the bands that they had booked in 2020, and then they added more. So it was a really packed roster. I got to see Tom Warrior and the original Hellhammer lineup. It was great.
Did Carcass play?
Yeah, but we didn't have tickets to. I think they played at Ram's Head, and we were in
didn't have
the
tickets, though.
parking lot. We didn't have tickets to everything, so
Oh, okay.
we just did the one lot. We saw Deicide. We saw
Nunslaughter.
we noticed that like we were there early in the day, and there were beer lines. They hadn't quite started serving people yet, and people were really scrutinizing the bands during the day. And we went home, got something to eat, and came back for night, and everybody was so drunk that the bands had it so much easier at night because everybody was so easygoing. They could have just done this, and it would have been okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody was drunk, by the way. They were charging about what, $17 a beer.
I paid
Probably
I
brought
paid
their own.
$17 for beer. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
We switched to the whiskey drink because they were only 14.
Yeah.
that's smart.
I went to Maryland Death Fest so that I could do a second mortgage on my house and have a beer.
There's rumors that it might not happen next year, but I had
Really?
this wonderful idea while I was jogging. Get Liquid Death to sponsor Maryland Death Fest. You know,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the water that costs 3 times as much as other water for the label.
Have you guys ever seen The Obsessed?
Oh yeah. I've interviewed Wino several times.
Mhm.
Super cool guy. I saw Spirit Caravan. I saw the upset. Yeah. Yeah. To answer your question.
I saw them. The only time I've seen them was sort of like a surprise or secret show in LA at the small club where they were like going to Death Fest the next day. It was sort of like a practice show.
Yeah. Yeah.
This place called the Redwood in downtown LA, and they're so good. Really, really amazing.
Yeah. Wino was
remember-
like the local Lemmy. Like we would like go into a bar and it would be like, he's over there. You're gonna go talk to him. And he was like so easy to talk to, just like Lemmy. Like you would just go sit down and he was just so open and just a really cool guy. Yeah. Just
That's good to hear. Yeah, back when Ulysses used to tour with Fugazi, Joe Lally, the bass player, roadied for Obsessed a lot of the time. He was always like raving about them to me, and he knew that I was into like Melvins and heavier music, so he was trying to get me into them. And I finally heard him in like '91 or something. It's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've always thought that was so interesting the way the punks embraced them because it was such a different style. They were in bell bottoms with wahs and totally nothing like what bands like Fugazi or Minor Threat were about, or Rollins, and they loved them and they were on SST and it's just really wild, unlikely.
Yeah.
Well, keep us apprised of what you're doing when you get it done so we can get behind it. I will have you know, I work for a doctor and I'm the first one in the morning and I take over the speaker systems. Fucking Champs went right on. Playlist.
That's great.
Active audience. Yeah.
So, because we got speakers in all the different exam rooms and I just hijack them, play what I want.
What kind of doctor is it?
It's an ophthalmologist.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun. It's a small office. We're kind of a little family and it's really funny because he'll come in and it'll take him a while and then he'll say, "What is this?"
Okay, this isn't Fleetwood Mac.
Because he usually always has some classic rock thing on there. And I'm like, come on, we've heard these songs 22 times. Let's do something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if you guys heard, but we're actually reissuing the first Champs record with
That's great.
with Drag City, just because it's been sort of in and out of print for so many years. It was supposed to come out this year it would be the 25th anniversary of when it originally came out, but I don't think it's going to make it this year. It's just got, I had to remaster it because our old label lost the masters. So I remastered it in January and turned it in, but there's just been all kinds of production delays just because that's how things are these days.
Yeah.
But it should be out next year, and it'll be double album vinyl and remastered.
All right, well, we better let you go because we got Gene Hoglan coming up soon, and I have to pee.
I have to put on leather pants or something.
I'm gonna put my Dark Angel shirt on for him. Yeah. So.
Stay in touch as I mispronounce your name every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Falling on deaf ears.
Okay, Deaf Ears 1. This is a really good one. Cactus's Evil is Going On. It's an 8 CD box set that drops on Cherry Red Records October 28th.
Cherry Red. Thank goodness for them for coming, re-releasing this one.
Spectacular label, yeah. Now, a lot of people aren't familiar with Cactus. They're from New York.
Sadly.
And in the early 70s, they were kind of like the US's Led Zeppelin. I mean, the way that Led Zeppelin was a supergroup. We strangely did a show on supergroups and we didn't mention either Led Zeppelin or Cactus.
We whiffed.
We really whiffed on that. A little bit about them. So Carmine Appice and Tim Bogart were from Vanilla Fudge, a psychedelic 60s band. Guitarist Jim McCarty came from Buddy Miles's band, and the incomparable vocalist Rusty Day, who was a real, actual badass.
Huge.
He was recruited on vocals. Originally, the band was going to include Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart, but something happened to Jeff Beck.
He
right?
got in a car
Got
accident,
in a car
and
accident.
he
That's
was
right.
out of the music scene for an entire year.
Now, and a little bit of fun trivia here. Rusty Day was approached by AC/DC as first choice when Bon Scott died.
Wow.
Turned it down.
Wow.
And AC/DC was huge at the time. And then he was approached to replace Van Zandt and Skinner. Turned that down. By 82, he was
Apparently,
dead.
he was allergic to money as well as dead.
Yeah, he was too busy.
But some people got to stay
Smoking
true.
banana peels.
Some people got to stay true to their own thing, and I guess if they feel like they're not going to fit in, or there's going to be too many chiefs and not enough Indians, they're out.
I think the working title for the show is going to be "Imagine the Drugs" because it's also applicable for Rusty Day. Imagine the drugs that were so good that he was like, "No, I don't need to join your Akadaka band. I'm good." Akadaka. We used to call him Akadaka back in the 8th grade. Yeah. All right. A little bit about Carmine and Peace. He was sort of a metal journeyman. He's on the Stars record with Dio. Remember We're Stars? That one?
Yeah.
The best thing about go on YouTube right now and look up Stars because it's a who's who of early 80s heavy metal, right? Jeff Tate, Rob Halford, obviously Dio, guitarist from Maiden make an appearance. Neil Schon plays a solo. Oh, Blackie Lawless. The best part of the whole thing to me, well, there's two parts. One part is you actually see like Don Dawkins wearing this like kind of Miami Vice jacket, and Dio was telling him, you can actually sing with a little grit in your voice. I'm like, yes, tell him, Dio. But the best part of all is Vince Neil shows up and nobody asks him to sing. He's just like, hey man, this is cool hanging out with y'all. I'm just gonna stand over here in the corner, and they never ask him to sing. It's so great.
We shan't need you. We shan't.
And there's footage of it of the guys from Spinal Tap were there because Spinal Tap had just come out, and St. Hubbins says something like Yngwie fucking Malmsteen. I've given up the guitar, made it into a coffee table. Hilarious. Anyway, so yes, definitely check that out. But anyway, so Carmine and Peace plays drums on that record. He also played on Blondes Have More Fun with Rod Stewart. He was in that Blue Murder band with John Sykes, and he did that horrible King Cobra thing with the two blonde guys in the 80s. It was awful. The part I can't understand is that when all this shit was going on, these incredible live records were just sitting in a box collecting dust in somebody's closet, apparently, because these were never unearthed until the early 2000s at some point.
Wow.
So,
well, you know what? I'm so glad they finally made it to the light of day because this is music that people have forgotten about, and they really should take a re-listen.
Super tight, unbelievably groovy, recorded by Eddie Kramer, and obviously not touched up at all like a lot of the 70s records were, live records, because they never came out. So there wasn't any bringing the band into the studio to do the Kiss Alive, Unleashed in the Studio thing.
We're alive for 14 roadies.
A lot of live albums from the 70s are just not live. But anyway, so all that in mind, check out the live version of Big Mama Boogie.
For our next step.
Wait a minute, let me get rid of the pot smoke. Whew, all right. Go ahead. Anyway.
For our next Deaf Ears band, this is Joyride! From San Francisco.
Why don't we get Stu in here? He could grade and review all the punctuation marks.
It's too soon, Mark. Okay. But anyway, this is a punk rocky. I couldn't think of a better name than Joyride. They are so kind of a little bad, but upbeat, and they're kind of along the lines of Big Eye, like Kate Eldridge, and I love, they'll just be going along, and then they just do a little stop and then go back in. It's so literally, I'm thinking about it, dancing in my seat. So,
yeah, great band. And this song is called Miracle. Oh no, the album's Miracle Question.
And they've been around for a while. They're not new. They've been around since 2011.
And what's the song called? The song is
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's. So this is St. Mary's from Joyride.
Enjoy. Our final Deaf Ears of the day comes straight out of the UK. The band is Twister, not to be confused with the big mat that you put out with the colored circles and you got to put your feet in your hands.
Not to be confused with that horrible movie that had Helen Hunt in a tank top.
Or the twisty cone of the soft.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
way better than any of those things.
Well, you found out that there were a lot of bands called Twister, didn't you?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch. Yeah. This is a 4-piece band. They play some pretty kick-ass sleazy rock with 2 guitars, but shockingly, I like it.
You like 2 guitars and sleeves?
How do you like that?
Hmm.
So as you're going to see, Stace and I enjoyed this immensely. Well, this has been quite the kickoff for season 2.
We had a lot in the show today. Everything from Metal Shop,
Yeah.
which brought back horrible recollections of my actual metal shop class in middle school.
I can't fucking play the guitar anymore. Make it into a coffee table.
And we did so many deaf ears bands.
We had a phone call that I'd like to forget about.
Yeah, desperately. We rediscovered Cactus.
We did.
And
Imagine the drugs.
we talked to the incomparable Tim,
Tim
Green,
Green.
which I said correctly. I'd like to point that out.
Many times, yes. Oh, and I at the opening of the show, I think there might be footage of this. I sat on my keyboard, cracked it right in half.
God.
$9 down the drain. So,
This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Fucking Champs, played by permission of Tim Green and Drag City Records. Cactus appears courtesy of Cherry Red Records. Joyride, played by permission of Jenna Marks. Twister, played by permission of Stevie Stoker. Snaggletooth theme, courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs and purveyor of Beer O'Clock. Deaf Ears theme, courtesy of Tim Green.
not courtesy.
Deaf Ears theme, courtesy of Tim Green. All content 2022, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.